Let me hit you with the most annoying part of fat loss. In the beginning it works, like it actually works. You clean up your food, you start seeing the scale react, your face looks tighter, your shirt fits different, and you start thinking, okay, I figured it out. This is finally my war plan. Then you blink, and suddenly it does not work anymore. Same meals, same effort, same routine, sometimes even more. And somehow your body acts like it did not get the memo. That moment is where people either quit or they do the one thing that guarantees they get stuck longer. They force harder. Here's what nobody explains in a way that actually helps. Fat loss has phases, and the phase that makes you feel crazy is the switch. The moment your body stops behaving like a calculator and starts behaving like a survival machine. At first, your body sees stored energy and thinks, fine, we can spend this. Then it starts noticing patterns. It notices you are consistently in a deficit. It notices your body weight is trending down. And if you are the kind of person who has carried extra fat for years, your system does not interpret that as progress. It often interprets it as danger. So it adapts. And when I say adapts, I do not mean some motivational poster nonsense. I mean real changes you can feel. Hunger feels louder. Cravings feel more aggressive. Your NEAT drops without you noticing, meaning you move less during the day even if you still train. Your energy gets weird. Sleep can get lighter. Stress feels sharper. And the scale just sits there. That is the part that makes you start talking to yourself in a way you would never talk to another human. I'm failing. I'm slacking. I need more discipline. No. What you need is to understand the switch. Because once you see it, you stop making the mistake that ruins fat loss for most people. The mistake is thinking the answer is always more suffering. People hit that stall and they do longer cardio, slash calories, add extra fasting, and push harder every day. That can work for a short moment, then it backfires. Because the body sees even more stress and it tightens the grip. That is why it feels like you are fighting your own biology and you are fighting a defense system. Now, let me make this concrete. When fat loss works in the beginning, you are in the momentum phase. Your body has plenty of stored energy, inflammation is often going down, water weight changes, glycogen shifts, and the scale rewards you fast. You feel powerful. Then comes the resistance phase. The reward slows down. The signals get messy. Your body tries to make the deficit smaller without asking permission. More hunger, lower output, and if you respond with panic, you turn resistance into a full stop. Here is a question that exposes the truth. If you were truly doing everything wrong, why did it work at first? Exactly. The plan was not garbage. The phase changed. This is where my whole philosophy comes in. In this war, you do not win by pushing harder forever. You win by switching tools when the enemy changes tactics. In the resistance phase, willpower is not the hero. Structure is. It's what keeps you calm, keeps you consistent, and keeps your body from feeling like it needs to slam the brakes. Most people think the stall is the end. It is not. It is the checkpoint. Your body is basically saying, prove this is safe. Prove you are not about to crash. Prove you can keep going without turning your life into misery. If you answer that checkpoint with chaos, you get chaos back. So what actually helps when the switch happens? 3 things, and none of them are sexy. First, you tighten the plan without making it extreme. That means fewer random bites, fewer untracked days that feel like they do not count, and fewer weekend blowups that erase 5 days of work. Second, you protect muscle like it is your weapon, because it is. Muscle is the buffer that protects your metabolism during fat loss. Lose muscle and everything slows down. Keep it and your body stays responsive. That's why resistance training comes into the plan, protein becomes non-negotiable, and sleep turns into a priority. Third, you support the internal signals that make adherence possible. Because if your hunger and energy are wrecked, you will lose the war mentally before you lose it physically. This is where I bring in something that a lot of people misunderstand. Support does not mean you stop dieting and a pill does the work. That is fantasy. Support means you reduce friction inside the system, so your structure actually holds. There is a reason why a bunch of people use an encapsulated support tool in their routine when fat loss hits that stubborn phase. Not because it is magic, but because it helps with the part that breaks people. Appetite, pressure, energy, stability, cravings that feel like a screaming toddler in your brain. When those get calmer, you stop negotiating with yourself all day. You stop white knuckling. You can stick to the plan with less effort, which is the entire point. Consistency is the real fat loss drug. So if you are in that phase where fat loss worked and then suddenly did not, and you feel that internal friction building, this is where that encapsulated support can help. It can support appetite control, reduce the constant urge to snack, and help your energy feel more stable. So training and daily movement stop feeling like punishment. It's not replacing your structure, it is reinforcing it, like adding armor to your strategy. If you want to check it out, you'll see the link in the description. Now, do not miss this, because here comes the bigger reason people get stuck, even with good effort. They follow plans built for bodies that do not fight back as hard. And that is where body type matters. Some people can do a sloppy deficit and still drop weight. Others adapt fast, defend fat aggressively, and punish inconsistency. If you are the kind of person who has always gained weight faster than your friends, who always had to be more careful, who feels like your body stores everything, you are not imagining it. Your baseline is different. Your fight is different. And that is exactly why the same plan can work for your friend and fail for you in week 4. Not because you are weak, because your body switched into defense mode sooner. That is why copying random routines from naturally lean people is such a trap. They sell you a strategy that assumes you have their biology, but you do not. Here is the scary part. When you do not understand this, you start chasing new plans every time resistance shows up. Keto this week, fasting next week, cutting carbs to 0, then binge, then guilt. And your body learns a new pattern. It learns that every deficit ends in chaos. So next time you try, it defends harder and earlier. That is a cycle that keeps people stuck for years. So what is the real move? You stop treating every stall like an emergency. You treat it like intelligence. Your body is giving you information. And the moment you stop taking it personally, you start taking control. You build structure that matches your physiology. You pick tools that reduce friction. You keep muscle as the priority. You manage the mental load. You stop gambling. This is where I hand you something practical, because I do not want you leaving with just theory. That's why I made a free guide called 7 Steps that got me out of obesity. It is built for people who have fought this war for real, not for people who have been lean their whole life and pretend they understand it. And if you're not sure what your body type actually is, I show a simple trick in my guide that helps you figure it out in seconds. That matters, because once you know what you're working with, you stop guessing and you stop copying the wrong playbook. This guide is also in the description. Here is what that stall actually means. It means the easy phase is over. The phase where sloppy structure still worked is gone. From this point on, your body responds only to consistency, signal control, and strategy that matches how it adapts. This is where shortcuts stop working. That is actually good news, because it means you are past the beginner phase. You are at the part where winners separate from quitters. So here's what I want you to do after this video, not next week, today. First, stop adding punishment. Stop panicking and stacking extremes. Second, tighten structure in a way you can repeat for months. Third, support the signals so the plan does not feel like a daily argument with yourself. Then watch what happens over the next couple weeks. Not just on the scale, in hunger, in cravings, in energy. Because when those stabilize, fat loss starts moving again. It is not instant, it is not flashy, but it's reliable. And if you were sitting there thinking, oh, okay, Bruno, but what if my body is the worst kind? What if I am the person who always gets stuck? Trust me, I know that feeling. I used to be 300 pounds. I lived that frustration. The only difference between the version of me that stayed stuck and the version of me that got out was this. I stopped treating fat loss like a moral test, and I started treating it like a war with fate. When the enemy changed tactics, I changed my tactics. That is the game. Now go look at the description if you want the support tool and the free guide, then come back to this idea and remember it the next time fat loss slows down. The switch is not the end. The switch is where your real strategy begins.